It is a brand new episode of Flyers Daily for Monday, September 1st. I ticked down the days to get to September 1st, and we are finally here, thank goodness. And Flyers Daily is always brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. It is a Monday. That means a Monday edition of with Bill Meltzer, and he joins us from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyHotStove.com. Welcome to the month of September, Bill. The game will get back on the ice this month.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Labor Day to everybody. Two weeks away from the rookie games. Rookie camp's just about here. It's the most wonderful time of year as far as I'm concerned. Get rolling again.
Yeah, it's about to all start popping off once again. Before we get into kind of previewing rookie camp, and which is now just 10 days away, if you can believe that, and rookie game and some camp storylines and some where some players fit. I do want to ask you, because one of the things that came out last week was Dale Weise's comments regarding his tenure here in Philadelphia, which kind of ended abruptly.
Yeah.
And he had some really critical things to say about the Flyers organization, having come from Chicago and Vancouver, where those organizations were having a lot of success at that time. But really kind of the crux of what he said is that the leadership here and the culture here was a real problem, and really kind of pointed the finger directly at the captain, Claude Giroux, and Jake Voracek. What did you think of the comments that he made about the locker room being cliquey and just wasn't a winning culture?
Well, let me divide this in half, okay? My own personal dealings with Dale Weise were fine, okay? I always found him approachable, was always nice to me, like when particularly his son had an accident, in the household. I think like a table fell on him, broke his orbital bone. Could not have been more gracious. Was very appreciative of all of us who came up and inquired, about how his son was doing. And so, that was my own personal experience. Now the flip side of that, Dale Weise had a reputation internally before any of this. I mean, years ago, while he was with the organization, being a negative guy, being a player who always had a complaint, being a guy who was said to be a negative influence on other players, particularly where Nolan Patrick was concerned.
Yep.
So Weise are having negative comments about the organization, particularly certain teammates, was really not a surprise from those who were around during that time period. I remember one time with Dale when I think it was a preseason game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a preseason. He had a shorthanded goal in the game. He was on the interview list, with the media after the game. His name was on the board, and I think he was the third person brought out, but they were bringing him out in quick succession because I think they wanted to roll through them.
Yep.
And so the first two guys who were brought out were still with the media. They were asking him questions, and pretty sure one of them was Jake. Not that really matters, but the bottom line is that the media were still talking to the other two guys. And Dale got up and he stormed out of the locker room because he didn't want to wait.
Yep. So people know, sometimes they'll bring somebody in and that player just has to wait a minute while they finish up with a player that's currently going.
Yeah, he did not want to wait. Now, whether Dale had told the PR people that, hey, I have something like right after the game, my family's coming or whatever, like, can we do a quick I don't know. I didn't think that was a very professional way to act in that situation. So that was, that was the close. I mean, it wasn't obviously involving me. It was involving the media in general. But I mean, Dale has had other situations as well too. There was once a hot mic incident, with the broadcast team, and issued an apology, and Dale wouldn't accept it. I think Dale sometimes is the guy who carries some grudges around. Is the point of it. So sometimes with that, I think you have to consider the source.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we all know Jake. He's a guy with very easy to deal with, very easy to like, was extremely effective for most of his career with the Flyers. Very, very personable guy, but Dale's the guy with no filter, or rather, Jake's the guy with no filter at all. And and whatever. I mean, Jake is Jake, but Giroux. I mean, I could never see Giroux being a guy who would ever complain about somebody else in a blowout game getting
a power play
time at the end of the game and whatever.
That just didn't wash for me either.
That didn't feel in character whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's very few
this
players.
This is combining of facts of different stages of his career into one story to make it accentuated and better.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so all of that, when I consider some of the backstory, and I remember when Weise was sent to the Phantoms. I specifically remember when he was sent to the Phantoms and saying that I'm happier to be here. Because I think he cleared waivers and was sent down. I think Hexie was still the GM at the time, and he said he was happier to be here. And then he was in Philly, and that was an odd thing to say.
Yeah,
at the time
he was writing his ticket out of town.
Yeah. I mean, he was certainly doing that. So went back to Montreal. I mean, it's funny because his last season in Philly was actually the year he actually moved up in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the year, and he had, I think in November, he was going really well, and then just kind of flattened out and, moved back down in the lineup, and then things kind of just fell apart from there. But he signed a multi-year deal as a free agent here. It didn't work out. Didn't see eye to eye with Dave Haxel. Wasn't the only player, in that boat. But I thought Hack was right. I mean, the most part, Weise, other than short stretches, was not very effective with the Flyers. So he wasn't
a limited NHL player.
He wasn't going to play more, you know, and so I think it was a situation where he came there with expectations that it didn't work out for him. He wasn't happy about it, and I think it was at times a divided locker room, but I'm not going to pin on the guy who were the team's two best players at that time. And in fact, I think that two of those guys plus Wayne Simmons were the reason why the Flyers were even a bubble team at that time, because they'd make the playoffs one year, miss the next, make it the next, miss the next. The only reason they were even a bubble team was that small nucleus of guys. And to say that there was absolutely no leadership, like I said, well, what about Simmer? Even Sean Couturier was emerging as one of the leaders in the team at that time. So I thought it was off base, but it didn't shock me either.
Yeah, it struck me as a guy that had a lack of self-awareness of the player and skill level that he had, because several times, he talked about early in his career with John Tortorella and things like that, and he was there for that year in Vancouver when Torts was there, and Torts knows that year of his career was a mistake as well. I talked about it with him before, and how he needed to take a break, which he did after that. The other thing is that I found interesting with it is you can't come in here and taint the mind of a second overall pick. You just can't do it. And may that be a lesson to guys coming in here now and veteran players, because you've got young, impressionable kids that are coming through this lineup now, whether that's Matvei Mishkov, who had the language barrier last year, granted, but you're going to have Porter Martone coming through here, Jack Nesbit, hopefully sooner rather than later. And you look at other young players, and, these guys are going to have to come in, and the veteran guys got to lead the way and show them how it's done in a positive manner, not polluting their head.
No, for sure. I mean, those are the guys that do create a lot of the so-called locker room atmosphere part of it. Now, and I mean, we're not in the room, so we don't know what was said or who may have felt left out at the time and or whatever. But my feeling is particularly where Jake is concerned. I mean, Jake is probably the most sociable guy you'd ever want to meet. Yeah. Jake is not someone who excludes people, and
he's not a wallflower.
No, not whatsoever. And I mean, you can say what you will about the team at that time. The biggest part of, to me, the biggest issue with the team at that time was that they didn't really commit to a rebuild. They did a partial rebuild.
Yeah.
So they took enough pieces away so that they stayed a bubble team, and B, that there wasn't a succession plan as G got a little bit older. Jake went through his prime. Wayne Simmons went through his prime. Timo Timonen got older, obviously. So there were. So I thought at that time it was kind of they were kind of caught in that mushy middle, and that was really
explains the every other year going into the playoffs.
Yeah. In one year, out the next year, and when they were in, although they would take the series 6 games, they'd lose in the first round. So it was, it was kind of a vicious cycle then. But I don't blame the guys who were the best players on the team at that time. There just wasn't enough else there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Bill, before we get to preview and rookie camp, I want to bring up Sam Ersson because, we've talked obviously a lot about goaltending, whether that was the goaltending last year of Ersson, Fedotov, and Kolosov, Cal Peterson to some degree, but that's not worth discussing. Or, the fact that they went out this offseason and signed Dan Vladar to a new 2-year contract. It appears as if Fedotov will be waived and go to the Phantoms, and apparently, we'll get to this in a second too, Kolosov is amenable to the AHL. I wonder how amenable he is to the ECHL, because that may be where he's ticketed. But also, ultimately, Sam Ersson, 25 years old right now, going to be 26 here in short order. I mean, he's going to be 26 coming up on October 20th in the very early stages of this season. He is now in the prime of a goalie career.
Yeah.
And it for a while, the thing was, well, he kind of got rushed to the NHL because of the Carter Hart situation before he was ready. Well, now you can't just say any of that stuff anymore. It's got to remain healthy, and B, show what he's going to be in his prime.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there have been significant stretches, right? 6 weeks at a time, or at one point almost 8 weeks, where he played at a very high level.
Yeah. But
the other periods of time between injury and inconsistency, a lot of games where he got pulled pretty early, and in a lot of cases deserved to be pulled early because pucks weren't hitting him.
Yeah, and you could see in his body language he didn't have the confidence.
Yeah, I think there were points where Sam would get down on himself a little bit, and it was it was just like, okay, here we go again, right? So I think that Sam has shown he's an NHL goalie, but now has to be the time that he shows that he's either a 1A or I don't know that he's a true starter backup situation where he's a workhorse, but at least half of a very good tandem, and I think all the ability is there to do that, but I think now has to be that time.
Yeah, I agree. If he wants to be a 52 to 55 game starter, this is the year where he's got to show it.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have a guy breathing down his neck in Dan Vladar who's never played more than 30 games. Frankly, Vladar's got to show it now too, because he's in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I love that situation of having two guys in that same situation, knowing the only way to get the crease is to play well, because there's only one. So I think that's a good situation for the team to be in. I think it's a healthy competition for these two goalies at this point in their career as well.
I do think competition is a good thing here, particularly guys go in with the right attitude on that, because you want to compete, you want the net. At the same time, you also simultaneously, and it's a hard juggling act, you have to be supportive of the other half of the goalie tandem.
Hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's hard to, and a lot of goalies can't do that very well.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like they say the right things, but their body language is such where if their partner is going well and they're not, they don't seem very happy.
Yeah.
So
it is a difficult thing for a goalie, because you see a guy get hot and he goes on a run, and that you're going to be strapped to the pine.
Yeah.
As a result of his success, and you want team success, but you're like, I also want to be a part of it. It's a really conflicting feeling as an athlete and as an alpha athlete to there's only one net. It's not like a forward where you still get in the game, but you just might get 16 minutes instead of 20. So it's a very difficult thing to manage for goaltenders as well. We'll see where it goes. I mentioned Kolosov. He didn't pop up on a KHL roster. They're underway in camp right now. I saw Zvragins, by the way, his new setup for Scott looks awesome. But he is apparently coming over. There was never anything official that he wasn't. But Fedotov is going to be waived most likely with purpose of reassigning him to the Phantoms. Carson Bjarnason is somebody that they're investing in because he's 20 years old and has shown really good growth over his 4 years in Brandon. Does Kolosov end up with, in the ECHL, or do they carry 3 goalies, which is, again, untenable to me in the American Hockey League, maybe for a short period of time at the beginning. But beyond that, I mean, how's he going to react to that, Bill?
I don't know, and there will be opportunities whether he's wherever he starts out this year, just because inevitably someone's going to get called up. There's going to be an injury somewhere.
Yeah,
and he didn't really handle it very well last year. That's to put it nicely, right? He put himself behind the 8 ball by not being there on day 1 of camp. Put himself in a more disadvantageous situation by not really being very amenable to going to the Phantoms.
Yeah.
He owes the organization 1 more year on his entry level deal, and then he can go wherever he wants, whoever will sign him. He's not a player who's of a high enough stature in the KHL where they would even entertain the idea of, because there's that memorandum of understanding that you wouldn't interfere with valid contracts. It's held to for the most part, but sometimes, like we saw with the Fedotov, right?
Yeah.
He was the KHL goalie of the year, and there's a lot of politics tied in with all that. Whereas with Kolosov, he's not of a high enough profile that any team over there, whether it's Dynamo Minsk or another team, are really going to stick their necks out to sign him. So it's basically either wherever the Flyers assign him this year, or he doesn't play. So he really has to step up to the challenge. I mean, there's never been a question about his athleticism or those things, but whether he's mentally tough enough and whether he can actually step up and handle that challenge, that remains to be seen. Where he'll end up playing, I don't know. I mean, we could always see what happens in camp, right? Bjarnason won't start the year as the starter with the Phantoms.
It doesn't make sense for him to play 55 games with the Phantoms.
Right.
He's got to ease his way into the pro game.
Yeah, and then also in the American League too, though, you have those which you never have obviously in the NHL. The CBA won't allow it. Is you do have those periodic 3 games and 3 night situations.
Yeah.
So sometimes there you can use a third goalie. So again, there'll be opportunities for him, but he has to take it. It's now or never for him in the organization. Probably him now or never in North America. Honestly, it's not like other organizations watched him last year and said there's something there. Maybe we can jump on this. So yeah, I'm curious to say.
Yeah, I think he's playing for his North American hockey life to show enough to remain in North America. One of the things with the 3 goalie thing that doesn't work. Yeah, you have the 3 and 3. You can use a third goalie there when that does happen on those occasions. The problem is in practice. There's only 2 nets in practice. There's a guy standing around doing nothing, just standing there as equipment, and everybody feels weird about it. He feels weird because he's not in the drill. The 2 guys feel weird because he's not in the drill. It's an uncomfortable feeling. So we'll see where things go with Kolosov. On to camp now. Rookie camp is going to start in 10 days, if you can believe it. Rookie game is in 12 days on Friday the 12th at the PPL Center in Allentown at 7:05, and then Saturday the 13th at I believe at 5:05, that second game. So rookie camp is here, Bill. I want to ask you about a few players. When you look at talking about guys that need to show what they got right now. Emil Andre has gone from a guy that showed something and dropped and he's been up and down like a toilet seat in his stock. this camp has got to be paramount for him too, because I just don't know where he fits with this team right now. Coupled with the fact that, I've seen this team draft monster blue liners for 2 years now, whether it was Spencer Gill in 24 or all the size they drafted last year.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to fit an organizational philosophy of size on that blue end when you have two smaller-ish guys in Drysdale and York.
Yeah, that to me is the bigger thing. You can carry a smaller defenseman, even two of them, but the three is really pushing it. I thought there were stretches where Andre looked absolutely this is an NHL defenseman, and then he had an injury and didn't really bounce back from it too well. I don't know about physically, but just in terms of his actual game, had that tendency to on the positive side wasn't afraid to get hit, but on the negative side, got hit too often.
Yeah, and too hard. Didn't prepare himself, his body well to get hit.
He would get smoked out there, and so he didn't really adjust as well as you would hope. I don't think there's anything he's going to show you in rookie camp, that's going to tell the story. But in NHL camp where he's competing with a guy like Zamula, for example, of course Gilbert's here, Juleson is here. So just as in terms of the numbers game, he's going to beat out some guys. So, we saw enough of him with the Phantoms in particular, and those stretches with the Flyers, to know that he's certainly is a pro, that he certainly is going to give you some NHL games. But I really want to see him competing in the NHL camp, and then see how the numbers game work out, because I think the numbers game works against him right now.
Yeah, I feel like an ass. I mean, I told the guy to turn off the electric in Lehigh Valley. That one time he got called up, he looked like he was ready, and then this guy was ready to blossom, and then I think he took some physical toll, and it just affected his decision making, and because with him it's all about the way he sees the ice. Yeah. His head is always surveying, and all of a sudden it just didn't look like he had the same level of being able to break it down like he did before. Bill, where are we on Tuamala at this point? I mean, he really kind of worked his way out of the equation here.
Yeah, very good year, particularly in the first half in 2023-24, and took a major step backwards this past year. He's another guy who's playing for his career in North America. He's a guy who they thought, well, maybe his overall game might come along well enough that he doesn't have to absolutely score a lot to hold a role. I mean, he has to score, but I don't think he's ever gonna score to the level of where he looked the year when he was initially drafted. He looked like a guy who was going to be an NHL sniper, a top 6 kind of a guy. Now it's more like, well, if he makes it, it'll be as a top 9, where then you have expectations of doing other things too.
Yeah.
And he just had a pretty down year last year. This time a year ago, we were talking about, well, could he actually, if he has a great camp, could he make a run at the NHL roster? At this point, I don't even think that's a possibility, even if he has a good camp. I think he'll go back, start out with the Phantoms, and kind of see where he ends up, right? And see how it develops over the course of the season. That's been kind of a bit of a pattern. That's been a little bit of a concern, because there have been other guys who would come in, they would have that good rookie year with the Phantoms. I'm thinking of Denye in particular.
Yeah.
Where he's competing for an NHL job, and he took a major step backwards in the second year. In Elliott's case, he didn't really bounce back in year 3, so he's out of the organization now.
Yeah, I mean, he was 24 goals as a rookie.
Yeah, he led the team in scoring. He actually had more Tyson Forsher did.
Yeah.
So and then just kind of disappeared on him and never really got it back. And Tuamala just seemed like he wasn't the same player that he looked for the first half of the year before that. So again, it's now or never. And even if he doesn't make the team out of camp, which I don't think he will, I think he's behind guys like Bump, for example. I think he's even behind some guys who were pro rookies this year, like a Denver Barkey.
I agree.
He's the guy they want to look at for a longer period of time. So Tuomo has to prove a lot. I mean, he had those couple of rough years back in Finland, and then it looked like he came on and had progressed. So I'm curious to see what happens with him. There are other young guys too who are ticketed for the Phantoms, who I want to see what they can do. Like J.R. Avon was a guy who, after his rookie year, had a solid rookie year. Maybe not on track to be maybe a top 6 guy, but maybe by year 3 to play some NHL games. He took a step backwards last year too. He's not kind of where he was. Alexei Gendron is a guy. He can score.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt he can score, but can he do other things?
Yeah, he filled it up in junior.
Yeah, he sure did, and at times, because he was in and out of the lineup with Lappy.
Yeah.
When he was in the lineup, he would score, but okay, if he goes out and he gets you, let's say he played enough to get you 20 goals or 22 goals, okay, and let's say he got those 22 goals, figuring a couple of 2-goal games. So say he did that over about 17 games or 18 games, right?
Yes, that's the problem.
And then, okay, what's he doing in the rest of the games? Because a lot of times the answer is not enough.
Yeah. What are the other 60-plus games?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the issue. Denver Barkey, you just mentioned him. We haven't gotten eyes on Denver the last 2 years in development camp. 1 year he had, what did he have?
He had mono, I think.
He had mono, and then this past year he was just dealing with an injury from that late run to the Memorial Cup with the London Knights. He and Bonk are 2 players I really want to get eyes on, and probably more so Denver than Bonk, just because we haven't seen him. And the other part of it is like I remember talking to him at development camp. I sat down with him. The kid wore a C at London, and he's just a winner, and like his point totals are pretty absurd what he did there. Now, granted, he's playing on a really good team, a really good program, but that program also gets people ready for the NHL. So I'm just really interested to see where he is at. And he stacks up against, in the rookie portion of camp, but then the main camp too.
Yeah. And I mean, his role, he was a tremendous penalty killer in the OHL. Up near the top of the league. Not, obviously in the shorthanded goal side, that's great to see too, but just he was a really good PK guy. I mean, he was, he knew when to try to counterattack. He knew how to clear the puck. He would battle against taller trees out there, and he'd win a lot of those pucks and get them down the ice safely. That's going to be his role if he's an NHL player. The junior numbers are nice, but that's not probably going to be what he's going to be asked to do as a pro. Now, that being said, sometimes that can change. If you show something, you go, well, maybe he's the guy who can play up higher in the lineup. Mm-hmm. Like right now, Bobby Brink, his job is safe, but let's say that Barkey puts pressure on him this year, and Brink doesn't take the next step. We've talked about adding size to the team. Barkey's never going to be a big guy, so I think he might be a guy who, like a year from now, could be pressuring a guy like Brink going into the year. Barkey, he brings really good speed. The motor is always running on him.
Yeah.
That's hyper competitive kid. So I really do want to see what he can do. And the other guy from London, Bonk, and I think we mentioned this on the last one, because I was talking to Keith Jones during development camp, and I said, well, he's the guy who's also going to have to develop just a little bit of a different role, because he's not going to be a power play bumper guy. And Jonesy said, well, let's not say that yet. Like, what if he can be?
Yeah, we'll see that in preseason.
Yeah, so they'll see that, right? So I'm really interested if they experiment with that. When he's up with the big team, or when he's with the Phantoms this year with John Snowden, do they actually take a look at him up front in the bumper? Because you don't see, every once in a blue moon you'll see a defenseman as the net front guy. I can't think of very many defensemen are your bumper guy. So that's that'd be pretty cool to see that experiment, and even cooler if it works.
Yeah, no doubt. I would think the Flyers tried Risto as a net front guy for a very brief period of time. The thing about Barkey is people think he's smaller than he is too, because he's got such a baby face.
Yeah,
he's not as small as people think. So, is he big? No, but I don't think he's as small as people think.
Well, I feel he felt a little bit too. Sometimes they don't update the weights.
Yeah. Yeah, you see the picture like on Hockey TV or whatever, and you're like, whoa. And he doesn't look like that anymore. He's got a little bit more, maybe a little facial hair. Bill, one guy I'm intrigued by is Spencer Gill. What do you expect out of Gill this year? His second-round pick in 2024 really had a good year, even though his season ended a little early. I think he got hurt in February. But you're talking about a big boy here. He's 6'4", 215, and can skate.
Yeah, Flyers like him a lot. I think you could see him in the World Juniors this year. A lot of competition for that spot, but they looked at him. They looked at him a year ago. Didn't make the team, but many was in the mix for this year too. He had a really good all around year last year. He's a big guy, but he's super athletic. And I think that he's a guy who will find his role over time. I'd be more surprised if he doesn't eventually see some games in the NHL and hopefully becomes an NHL regular at some point. Now, gets one more year of junior hockey, and then at least a year.
Yeah, and they'll be decent this year.
And then a year in the American League. So maybe two at that point. But in terms of physical tools, he reminds me a little bit of Braden Coburn, because Kobe was a really big guy who skate like a much smaller guy you would expect, right? He was just so smooth, and Gill has a lot of that too. So I do think that's a name you don't hear too much about. Yeah. But in terms of the defense prospects in the system, you have to put Bonk first. But I have Gill way up there too. That's the guy who this year, if he progresses the way he did a year ago, from beginning to end, where he's starting right now to the end of the year, then I think you're onto something. Where I think he'd be potentially a pretty darn good NHL player in the not too distant future. I do. Yeah,
with an NHL sized body too. Yeah. Already. We know we won't see Porter Martone in rookie camp. He's going to Michigan State. Apparently they're playing Penn State, an outdoor game now.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Get the NHL schedule makers on the phone.
Yeah.
Flyers, Pens at Beaver Stadium. Hook it up. It'd be awesome. The ice will be in. Even though we won't see Porter, we will see a first-round pick in Jack Nesbit.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what he's going to be like. Do you think they send him back quickly, or do they keep him around a little longer into regular camp, because he is they invested a 12th overall pick in him?
Yeah, I think that you could see him in a preseason game or two. The expectation is that he will need both years of junior hockey, and they're not. He's somebody they view as more of a long-term guy. When you're drafting a player, you're projecting him 3 years out, ultimately 5 years out. They think that in 3 to 5 years, he's going to be a guy you're going to look back at the draft and go, boy, you got him 12th overall. And that was kind of a crazy draft too, Jason, because you look at the first 12 picks of the draft. I think, was it 9 of them were centers?
Yeah.
So. The Flyers had stepped up, because I think that as all these centers are going off the board, I will tell you this too. There are guys that are drafted ahead of him, like McQueen, for example. I think he's going to end up being better than McQueen. I do. McQueen to me it's more about the intrigue of his size. And Nesbit's a guy who's big in stature, but hasn't filled out yet. And as he fills out, his skating will improve. He'll get physically stronger. Has all the other things that you want to see in a player. And we saw a little bit of that in development camp too. You can see the potential that's there. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested in seeing him in the rookies games.
Yeah.
The start of camp under talk, and again, he might get a game or two before he goes back down. But just to leave feeling good about being poised for a good season this year. I think that it had to sting a little bit that he was in the under 18 national team for the under 18 World Championships. Did not get the invitation to the summer showcase this year. That to me was a little bit of a slap. I mean, I get that there's always a numbers game, but usually when the guy's on the under 18 national team, he'll at least get the invite. He didn't have a very good tournament there. Now
Danny cited that as a reason why they was there 12.
Why was there 12? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of as a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
potentially for them. And part of the reason too was if you were watching his junior season, they played him a lot. They played him a lot down the stretch and even in the playoffs. So even towards the end of the playoff run, he was looking a little bit gassed. That's something too that I think that is, as he gets stronger and the conditioning, continues to improve, that'll be a guy who's just going to be a horse who's going to eat a lot of minutes for a team. I think sometimes people look at where the pundits have him and they go, oh, well, that's a good pick or a bad pick. We've never seen him play. So I mean, I mostly watched him in the under 18s where he didn't impress, but I did watch enough games, streams of enough games this past year to go, boy, this is a guy who's kind of climbing the rankings. You look where I think I had him like 20th, 22nd, 23rd when I did the mock draft, but I noted in there that I would have had him higher if his under 18s were better. Now it turned out that it didn't affect where he went in the draft.
Yeah,
but the Flyers picked him kind of right around where Bob McKenzie had him going, and the fact that the Nashville Predators were going to take him 13th.
Yeah,
and if the Predators didn't trade to grab him, that Vancouver would grab him at 15th.
Yeah,
because both teams said the guy that they were after was already off the board, and they were referring to Nesbit. So, so quite a few teams like the kid. So I'm really interested to see him, and I think just as a snapshot of where he is now, and then a year from now we can revisit the conversation and go, boy, look how much he's advanced from this time this year to this time next year. That's really just where I think he could get to.
When he fills out his NHL body, is it kind of like, I don't know why I have this projection, but of Keith Primo, like the body type, long,
kind of a little bit lanky. Yeah.
Yep.
I think he can get there. I really do.
Yeah. His skating reminded me of Primo a little bit.
It's not going to be quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I think with Preems is that I do think that at the same age, Primo was a little better skater than Nesbit is right now. I mean Primo's what third this draft year? Yeah. So, and Preems made an impact pretty quickly, although but I do think that Nesbit can get there, and I think he's going to be a very good player. And again, I think ultimately, if we ever do that hindsight drafting, 5-6 years from now, he's turning out to be a better player than guys that were picked in front of him.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to watch him.
We'll have a 2025 redraft in 2030.
There we go.
You're on episode 4,672. Read Bill's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyHotStove.com. We'll be back Wednesday. Just 10 days to Flyers rookie camp, 12 days to the rookie games. We're getting there. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you Wednesday on a brand new Flyers Daily.